Hey guys, welcome to the 8th episode of Walking with the Himalayan Master, and we are reading the second chapter, which is Vatsa Mantra. So here it is. Hanuman rejoins Rama. While studying in the Netherlands, I had received a copy of Fate magazine from an old buddy of mine. He had known I would be interested in an article about a yogi who could control his mind and body. Scientifically ascertained through experiments at the Menninger Clinic, my friend, a top athlete while in school, later told me that he had been in a bookstore browsing through the sports section when the small magazine had fallen on the floor in front of him. He had put it back on the shelf and walked on. Later, as he had come down the same aisle, the same book had fallen out at his feet again. This had seemed more than fate, so he had bought the magazine, read it, and dispatched it immediately to me. He had thought it was nonsense. I was thrilled with it. We too had spent many evenings exploring the night spots of Chicago in our early years. Often we had driven home witnessing the sunrise over Lake Michigan after an entire night of play. He had been extraordinarily generous with his time, money, and energy, as he was generous in girth and humor. I loved him and valued his opinion. After I met Swamiji, I tried in every way to lure my friend to the farmhouse to meet my new teacher, but he was evasive. He thought I was really off my rocker, and though he tried to humor me, he wanted no part of that silly Eastern stuff. Early one evening, my friend drove out to the farmhouse and circled around the area many times. He had already checked out the meaning of the word Swami and Yogi in the library, but now did not understand why he was there. He walked through the door directly into the presence of Swami Rama. The Swami asked, "Where have you been?" and held out his hand. The surprised man shook the hand and went into a different space. Visions, colors, sounds erupted in his head, and he was overwhelmed by the feeling that he had finally come home. Swami Rama had entered his heart, and he was never the same again. When I heard next from my friend, all I could think of was the Indian story of Hanuman and the god Rama. Lord Rama's wife Sita had been kidnapped by an evil enemy, and the Lord asked for help. Hanuman gathered an army of monkeys and rescued Sita, returning her to his lord. He was offered thanks and gifts in return, but he refused them all. He wanted nothing but the joy of serving his master. To show his love, Hanuman tore open his chest, revealing the shining image of Rama and Sita in the center of his heart. From the moment my old friend met Swamiji, he immediately became the fearless and diplomatic protector at public institute events, a duty that never changed over the many years to come. Why a teacher? In our American culture, it is not unusual to find the idea of mentoring in professional, artistic, and scholarly realms. And in realms of religion, spiritual directors often guide the believers in their personal lives. Those accepted relationships are similar to, but only barely approach, what the Guru-Chela, master-disciple relationship means in the context of the ancient spiritual traditions. The Sanskrit word Guru actually means the dispeller of darkness, the one who leads from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge. It is a sacred word not given lightly. Too many Christians forget that the master-disciple tradition is central to their scriptures. There are definite expressions of its demands and qualities throughout the gospel writings. The disciples of Jesus were not academic students but apprentices, as clearly indicated in the writings. Based upon the teaching influence of Jesus, these chosen individuals had their entire lives reshaped in a day-to-day, one-on-one process. That is the reason why Jesus would insist that he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Matthew 10:37. An unequivocal priority must be established sooner or later. No doubt the risk-benefit ratio is quite high. But once the apprentice embarks on the path, a profound commitment emerges on both sides. It's a difficult relationship to comprehend in our days, since there are so few occasions for meeting an Olympian teacher who is capable of taking one to the same heights. This mutual association characterizing Jesus and his disciples was a customary Eastern apprentice model that existed in his day and remains strong to this day for those lucky enough to find it. To enter into an ancient tradition, to become part of a spiritual lineage, means to link with these preceding masters who have likewise trodden a similar path in their times. Later, Swamiji would speak of his lineage by citing episodes with his guru as well as his grand guru. Likewise, we speak of fellow initiates of our teacher as a guru, brothers and sisters. I didn't want to believe what the accomplished one said. I wanted to experience it. I didn't want to be inspired by a talk like the audiences that Jesus had addressed. I wanted to get what Christ gave to his close disciples, the power to heal, the ability to perform miracles, the power to teach. I was aware that could not take place until some changes were made in myself. But I couldn't know by myself what those changes needed to be. I needed a master who had done it himself to tell me. As the days passed, Teresa began to get curious about the yogi whom I kept talking about. I wanted to go back daily to see him, since she was quite familiar with my exasperating habit of going overboard on new interests. She cautioned me not to let this extracurricular activity interfere with my teachings at Loyola University and my lecturing on theology across the Midwest. She hoped that meditation wouldn't prevent us from going to movies. The next week, Teresa insisted on accompanying me to the farmhouse to meet Swami Rama. She had practiced meditation in a semi-cloistered convent for almost 10 years, and her training as a nun had taught her many methods of spirituality. She wanted to learn more and knew the Eastern teacher must be good because I went so often, but she wanted to see for herself. There was a group of people waiting in the classroom of the farmhouse for Swami Rama to begin the evening lecture, The Meaning of Life. We stood in the doorway waiting until we heard a door above open and shut. Swamiji walked slowly down the stairs, turning his head right and left, nodding to students. As he descended on the bottom step, he stopped abruptly, took a long look at Teresa and called me to him. Justin, he whispered, marry that woman. We are married, I said, surprised at his firmness. We have been married for 3 years. Okay then, he answered and asked Teresa to come into the meditation room with him. 20 minutes later, she emerged, her eyes shining, her face full of joy and peace. What's a mantra, she whispered to me, and I could only laugh. Thank you guys. So today the second chapter ended, and the third chapter that we will continue from tomorrow is Building an Institute. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Krishna.